This is a message to Canada and all the American Tawaghi. We are coming and we will destroy you, bidnillahi ta'ala.
Some chilling words from a terrorist group in Syria, as you heard. A member of the group called Islamic State in Iraq and the Levant is threatening to destroy Canada. Levant isn't just my last name. It also means the Eastern Mediterranean, so that's why they stole it. I don't like the fact they used my name. The news comes on the anniversary of the Boston Marathon bombing, and it's another potential case of North Americans being radicalized abroad. Security expert David Harris has been following the story, and he joins us with more from Ottawa. David, I was just joking about the word Levant. I wanted to explain that I am in no way involved with these guys, and I find them odious, but it seems like there's spokesman there who threatened Canada by name. It sounds like he's from the West. He's got a bit of an accent as he speaks, but he's obviously familiar with Canada, the United States, and it sounds like he came from here to go over there. He's with a pack of terrorists, but he's threatening to bring his terror back home.
Well, let me say I'm relieved to hear you're not under deep cover at this point.
That's right.
But the fact is that does appear to be what we've got here, and it's becoming a never more familiar pattern, as you well know. Any number of countries in the Western world, especially, of course, the United States, but Canada not far behind, have found people who have been, in some cases, born and bred here, and almost inevitably spent many of their years here, going off to fight in some of these wars on the jihadi side of things, with all of the ramifications that that implies, including the possibility, as the Canadian Security Intelligence Service has warned yet again recently, of a possible return. And then we have to ask ourselves what could happen when you have people who are militarily trained to an extremely high degree, quite possibly seeking martyrdom, and full of hate returning to this country.
Well, that's the thing is, in Canada, they might just talk tough or study things on the internet or maybe put some pipe bombs together in their basement. But over there in Syria, they're actually fighting. They're training with real weapons and maybe even rocket launchers. And I mean, it reminds me of Omar Khadr, born in Canada, given every luxury and benefit of this country, but chose to get his training and do his terrorism overseas. You know, the thing is, part of me wants these guys to get the hell out of Canada, and I would rather these terrorists be in Pakistan, Afghanistan, Syria than here. Even though, I mean, I hate to inflict them on any other country, but better there than here. My worry is they're going to come back. My worry is we don't know they're there. Maybe they just said, hey, folks, I'm going to study in the Middle East, and then once they were in, let's say, Jordan, then they made their way to Syria. So do we even know how many Canadians we suspect there are in the Syrian civil war, for example?
Some numbers have been bandied about. I believe the Canadian Security Intelligence Service has suggested that there may be about 30 currently involved with extremist groups in Syria, but that in any event, 80 may have returned from what have been described as conflict zones. You put it all together, and easily dozens are going to be involved in general commitment to jihadi forces abroad. It could be hundreds. It could be hundreds. We've heard from Somali Canadian parents to take just one small group in this jihadi concern area who have expressed the gravest of worries that some of their own children could be recruited, find themselves abroad, as some have done, and then the rest of us, of course, have the return to worry about.
You know what? I'm glad those parents are speaking up. What terrifies me is the parents who wouldn't speak up, who actually either support or become willfully blind to what their kids are up to. I'm reminded of Omar Khadr's mother, who is positively a cheerleader for her terrorist son. Now, I looked at that guy, and of course, I'm not expert enough to identify someone by how they look, but that guy did not seem to be from the, quote, Levant. He didn't look Syrian or Lebanese to me. He looked maybe like he was from Somalia. I mean, this guy obviously is a global traveler at ease in the modern world. I mean, a high-quality YouTube video with some production values. These are sophisticated guys. I think in the West we have this conceit that we could run rings around them and they have no chance. But actually, they're high-tech in their tactics. They're just medieval in their philosophy.
Yes, and it gets us into that other area as well. In a sense, and I'm watching my words here, terrorism is the easy side of things. We know, of course, that those indulging in this are outright enemies. They've got to be stopped. What they do is illegal, even in international law. But there are the problems of what some might call agitation, others might call subversion within this country that can, indeed, even inadvertently, help prepare some individuals, especially youth, for radicalism by wrongly convincing them that, for example, Muslims in this country are all the time and everywhere being persecuted by their non-Muslim neighbors, even by their moderate Muslim neighbors.
Let me ask you a little bit about the UK, because I think they're further down this road than we are. I think they have obviously a much larger Muslim population. Did anything change in the UK when some of that terrorism did come home in the form of Michael Adebolajo, who was actually born Christian, converted to Islam, and then hacked to death that drummer Lee Rigby on the streets of England? Did that change anything in that country, or are they still muttering the multicultural pieties and saying, oh, no, you can't look at mosques because that's racial profiling? Has anything changed in the UK after that street slaughter, or are they still in denial like we are?
I think there's a form of denial prevailing, to be honest, and the government has taken another look at some of the prevention type programs they had underway, but a number of those have been found to be weak in ways that would be laughable were it not for the tragedy involved. Some of them have actually included embracing and funding radicals in an effort to bring them in to work on the part of the government because, to use the lingo, they have street cred with other radicals. So it's a serious problem. Our immigration is huge. We're seeing, of course, the Muslim population, which was a few tens of thousands in 1981, now at perhaps 900,000. And an Environics poll in 2007 suggested that maybe 12% would have supported the Toronto 18 plot. So that leaves us with some concerns.
Yeah, it's incredible. David, thanks for joining us today. We'll keep talking about this story, I'm sure, for months and years to come.